wanted to show you what some writing folders of student samples would look like by the end of the year. And so I'm going to flip through a couple of students' folders and show you. If I open from here, this is the most recent writing, so I'm actually going to do the opposite and show you what I keep from the beginning of the year. The very first day of first grade, I make sure to have them write and draw about something from that day. Some kids have actual writing like this student, and some kids have just letters or just a drawing, but it gives me a good idea of what they can start with. This is a sample of, it looks like a response to reading. We do that during part of our Daily 5. So if I want to keep track of that, I can throw it in their writing folder. Again, the dating helps me keep them in the right order, and so this looks like it was our mayor visit, and so they respond to that. Here's a sample of one of the books he's written throughout the year. Most of the books I send home because they're so excited once they've gone through and edited them and read them to partners in class. They also want to bring them home. But I do like to save a couple of samples so that at the end of the year they've got a good idea of how their writing has grown throughout the year. Then, of course, again, some more responding. This looks like it was probably right after Christmas break. Another sample, this is one of my favorite books of all time. Our ceiling started leaking, and so he wrote about the day it rained in class. And so some of my favorite books are saved in here as long as they're okay with it, and then they'll go home with them at the end of the year. Then here is, after most of the year, we just talk about what we're going to write, and that's our pre-writing. It's oral in first grade, but I do try to eventually during the year start throwing in a little bit more, having them planning a beginning, a middle, and end. So after we'd done it with reading several times, we tried it with writing, and so he had his beginning of his story idea, his middle, and his end. And some kids have more writing, some have less, some have more drawing. I don't really mind. I'm just trying to get them to think their book through instead of just writing and not knowing where they're going. And then I keep the sample of the book that they wrote with that BME flip. And so that way I can see if they stuck to it and if this helped their writing, or if they still are at an earlier stage where they just aren't ready for much of a plot yet. But it's really a very nice assessment. Again, that dating helps. And then I save samples of writing from special occasions like the 100th day of school. They write about what they think they'll look like and be like when they're 100. And then just another sample of his text to see how it's grown. It's also nice in case the parents didn't save them throughout the year. Now this is one of our final projects. We publish a book on the computer. This is a wonderful program by Carnegie Library. However, it does not let you stop and save and then go back and edit. You have to do it all in one setting. So because of that, we do some pretty elaborate pre-planning before we go in the computer lab. And so we have a story map, and then I have them choose out their title and characters. We think of a problem, and then of course they have several events. And all of this is done before we go in the computer lab. And then they have a solution for their story. And then once they've done that, they can go in, and it's a lot easier for them to actually be working on this program. Now, this student actually has already brought this book home. I just printed another copy for the sake of the portfolio so I can see his growth. And this is a really good program. They put the characters in, they can put those voice boxes in, change the setting, and so it's really a lot of thinking going into this, and that's why it's an end-of-year project, but I would highly recommend it. They love it. It's different than just their little paper books, although it's the same process. Since it's on a computer, they think it's so much cooler. So that's what one student's writing portfolio would look like at the end of first grade.